Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about topic 2.5, checks on the presidency. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about how the other two branches of government can check the executive, which sometimes creates conflict. Each chamber of Congress has its own unique checks on the presidency. Remember, when the Constitution was being written, the framers were still fearful of the executive becoming too powerful. So they wrote into the Constitution many ways in which the executive power could be curtailed, could be reduced. One of the ways that the Senate can reduce and check the power of the presidency is through advise and consent. So we talked a little bit about that when we talked about Congress a few topics ago. But advice and consent is the idea that the president really is meant to confer with the Senate when nominating justices and members of his cabinet. When he does that, it is more likely for the Senate to then approve his nominations because they must constitutionally approve nominations for those positions. Let's think about how the advise and consent process can actually cause conflict between the presidency and the Senate. During Obama's second term, the Senate was controlled by Republicans. During his last year in office, a Supreme Court justice passed away suddenly. And so Obama naturally decided that he needed to nominate a new justice to the Supreme Court. The Republican Senate refused to even hold hearings to try to confirm Obama's pick, who was Merrick Garland. The Senate said that instead they wanted to wait and see who the people decided to put into the presidency so that the new Supreme Court justice could reflect the will of the people. When President Trump was elected and then inaugurated in January, the Senate then very quickly confirmed his pick for the Supreme Court, who was Neil Gorsuch. The House of Representatives, of course, has the sole power of impeachment. And remember, impeachment is not the removal of someone from office. It is an indictment. So the House of Representatives, their real true check on the presidency is the power of impeachment. Now, the other check that the House of Representatives can bring down on the presidency is the power of the purse. The House of Representatives has the power to bring budget resolutions to the table. And so if there's something that the House of Representatives is not doesn't approve of within the presidency, then they can reduce the funding for certain areas of the government. One way that Congress has attempted to reduce the power of the presidency as far as military actions are concerned has been through the War Powers Act. The War Powers Act of 1973 stated that the president could only send in armed forces if Congress declared war, or if Congress gave permission to the president to send in troops, or if there was a national emergency. There is a caveat that says that if it is a true emergency, the president can send in troops for up to 30 days, but within 72 hours of having sent in troops, he does need to inform Congress of them being sent. This law came about because of the war in Vietnam during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. During the 1970s, the conflict in Vietnam was becoming very unpopular throughout the country. And the reality is that it was never declared war. The president solely was sending troops without the consent of Congress. It was always just a military action. And so Congress passed the War Powers Act and then sent it up to President Nixon, who then vetoed it. Congress overrode that veto in 1973, creating the War Powers Act. Now, technically, the War Powers Act isn't constitutional. It's never been challenged in court, however, but lots of presidents have just ignored it. That includes George W. Bush and President Obama. The check on the presidency that the judicial branch has is that of judicial review. Judicial review is the idea that the Supreme Court can determine whether or not something is constitutional. That includes both laws that Congress writes and actions of the president, like executive orders. And so the Supreme Court can determine whether or not an executive order written by the president is constitutional. In this lesson, you should have learned how the other two branches can check the executive branch. If there's anything you missed, please go through the video now and rewatch anything you missed. Then, once you're done, go into your notes and answer your summarizing question so that you can get your stamp next time you're in class. All right, guys, that's it for now. Bye.